15 FCS matchup, Sacramento State and South Dakota State. Both these teams under first-year head coaches. First of all, brief introduction. My name is John, Sports Bonanza John. My YouTube handle also on Kick tonight at Sports Kick John. Also do have some content on Twitch at Sport Guru John. My second live stream, I had a live stream earlier today in the Texas-Ohio State game. Of course, that game won by Ohio State 14-7 over Texas. Mentioned a top 15 FCS matchup here in this one. Before we begin, I do always start all my live streams off with a prayer. Let's start right now. Lord Jesus, thank you for this day. Thank you for looking over us all, and please protect these players and everyone tonight, Lord, and keep everyone safe. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Sacramento State and South Dakota State. South Dakota State preseason number 3 in the FCS poll. Sacramento State comes in preseason number 15. This is the Stats Perform FCS Top 25 poll that I use here. South Dakota State coming off an FCS semifinal appearance. Sacramento State coming off just a 3-9 season, but big expectations for the Sacramento State team this year. Both these teams under first-year head coaches. Sacramento State, the head coach Brennan Marion spent the last 2 years at UNLV. Now coming to Sacramento State. And South Dakota State is headed by first-year head coach Dan Jackson, coming over from being defensive coordinator at Idaho, who was also an FCS playoff participant a year ago. So these two teams, we are expecting big seasons from these two teams this season. Sacramento State and South Dakota State mentioned a top 15 matchup in the FCS. And, of course, the number 1 team in the Stats Perform FCS poll, North Dakota State, again, the defending national champions at the FCS level. They played earlier today and picked up a win at the Citadel, 38-0. So North Dakota State taking over right where they've left off the last few seasons. Can anybody dethrone the Bison is the question in the FCS. Bison, of course, just national powerhouse every single year at the FCS level. And they're looking with this 38-0 win today that they're going to be taking over right where they left off from last season. Montana State enters the poll at number 2. Montana State in action today against Oregon, and they are getting thumped at Oregon. But again, that Oregon number 7 team at the FBS level, and that's actually just gone final. Montana State did lose that game. Nobody really realistically expected they would win that game against Oregon. Montana State's still going to be a very good team. South Dakota State, in this game, the number 3 team in the Stats Perform FCS Top 25. South Dakota coming in at number 4. South Dakota was in action earlier today at Iowa State and fell in that game 55-7. Incarnate Word rounds out the top 5 in the Stats Perform FCS poll. And Incarnate Word, don't have a score on them offhand. We'll try to get that. But we are set to just about get underway. Sacramento State and South Dakota State. I mentioned this is my second live stream of the day. I had a live stream of Texas-Ohio State earlier today. Ohio State winning that game 14-7. So Ohio State for sure is going to go to number 1. Next week. Incarnate Word, by the way, the number 5 team in the country that I was telling you, they are going to be in action against Eastern Washington. Incarnate Word fell in their opener last week at Nichols, 20-6. So Incarnate Word looking for their first win of the season. Let's quickly run down a quick college football scoreboard. The upset going on right now is down in Tallahassee, Florida, as Florida State is about 6 minutes away from knocking off the number 8 team in the country, Alabama. Florida State leads that game 31-17, just under 6 minutes to go. And Alabama in their opener in deep, deep trouble against a Florida State team that went 2-10 a season ago. But, Alabama in deep trouble tonight down in Tallahassee. Finals from earlier today in FBS. Ohio State 14-7 over Texas. I mentioned Penn State walloped Nevada 46-11, the final score there. Oregon was mentioned to beat the number 2 team in the FCS poll, Montana State, 59-13. The number 20th ranked Indiana Hoosiers win over Old Dominion today, 27-14. Iowa State over the number 4 team in FCS, South Dakota, 55-7, the final there. Number 24, Tennessee, a win over Syracuse, 45-26. That is the end of the ranked teams in action. Big top 10 matchup coming up later on at the FBS level. LSU visits Clemson, going down there to Death Valley. Quick check of the FCS scoreboard right now. I mentioned earlier the number 1 team in the FCS poll, North Dakota State, 38-0 win over the Citadel. But we are just about set to get things going here between number 3, South Dakota State, and number 15, Sacramento State. A top 15 matchup in the preseason FCS polls. As I mentioned at the top, a couple first-year head coaches, Brennan Marion for Sacramento State, Dan Jackson for South Dakota State. South Dakota State falling in the FCS semifinals a year ago. And Brennan Marion has a nice cowboy hat he's got on the sidelines tonight, the head coach for Sacramento State. And we are underway in Brookings. And this kickoff taken at the 7-yard line, returned across the 20, spinning 25 and up to the 28-yard line as South Dakota State receives the opening kickoff. So we will see this Jackrabbits offense taking the field here first. And they will have a 1st and 10 at their own 28 to begin this game tonight. So a first down here for the Jackrabbits from their own 28-yard line. Chase Mason, the starting quarterback for South Dakota State. Used very little last year, but gets the start this time. On first down, Sacramento State brings some pressure. Mason gets rid of it and throws to the sideline, and they are calling this incomplete. And that will bring up 2nd down and 10 for South Dakota State. Chase Mason, senior quarterback out of Hurley, South Dakota. Second down and 10 for the Jackrabbits. Ball at the 28-yard line. And this is a handoff for the first time in the game. And this is on the right side. This is going to be a first down for the Jackrabbits, as that was Julius Lockridge, senior running back out of Houston, getting that carry for South Dakota State in a first down. First down carry as Lockridge heads to the sideline. Actually, they're marking him a yard short at the 37-yard line, so this is going to be 3rd down and a yard. And a handoff, and on the second effort, looks like they got it on the first down. Looks like Sacramento State had him stopped originally, but the second effort appears to have gotten the first down for South Dakota State. And it will be a first down for the Jackrabbits. First down from the 39-yard line, opening possession of the game for South Dakota State. Sacramento State bringing it here, and the handoff gets by the first set of tacklers, as this is Lockridge again coming back in, and he will pick up a couple yards on first down. And it will be 2nd down and 7 coming up, and they give him 3 yards on that. at the 42-yard line for the Jackrabbits. 2nd down and 7, 2 minutes old in this game. Mason out of the gun this time. Mason looking. Sacramento State bringing the pressure, but Mason has room to run. Across midfield, gets a 1st down into Sacramento State territory and goes out of bounds at the 46-yard line of the Hornets. On 2nd down and 7, Mason picks up 12. 1st down at the 47. Mason, a screen pass left side and tripped up. Is his receiver right there. That was Gehring, the reception for South Dakota State, picking up a couple. It'll be 2nd down and 8. Second down and 8 from the 46. Mason looking, throwing deep down the field. Nobody home. Incomplete. There is going to be a flag. This may be interference on Sacramento State. So this could cost the Hornets 15, and it will be an interference call against the Hornets. So add 15, that will put the football at the 31-yard line of Sacramento State. 1st down for the Jackrabbits after the first penalty of the game. Jackrabbits marching down the field on their opening possession. They are at the 31 of the Hornets, 1st down and 10. And Sacramento State just jumped into neutral zone. This is a free play for South Dakota State. And Lockridge gets 1, but we're going to have an offsides against Sacramento State. That will put the ball at the 26-yard line of the Hornets. Clearly mistiming the snap count right there. That was Sincere Massey, the guilty party for Sacramento State, jumping off sides. And the second penalty of the drive against Sacramento State places the ball at the 26-yard line for the Jackrabbits, 1st down and 10. This is a handoff and the end around as Lockridge gives it off inside the 20 to the 10, down at the 2-yard line. An end around play, the original handoff to Lockridge. He then handed it off. It looked like Jaden Oliver that received the handoff from Lockridge, and the Jackrabbits have 1st and goal at the 2-yard line. First and goal, South Dakota State at the 2. Looking to strike first. Mason, high snap, gives it to Lockridge, and Lockridge fumbled the football, and I believe the Hornets have recovered, and they have. So a promising drive for South Dakota State falters on a fumble. Sacramento State recovers. And the Jackrabbits' drive is stopped. Didn't see who that was that caused the fumble there. It looks like the handoff wasn't exactly clean. And then the hit put on by Sacramento State. Still didn't catch the number who that was. But nonetheless, a turnover, and the Hornets will have the football, although inside their own 5-yard line. So South Dakota State marching right down the field, but a defensive stop for Sacramento State. And now they have the football at the 5, 1st down and 10. Give you their quarterback info in just a minute as the throw is out of bounds on 1st and 10, incomplete. Starting quarterback tonight for Sacramento State is Jaden Rashada, the redshirt sophomore out of Pittsburgh, California. getting the start at quarterback for the Hornets. 2nd down and 10. Ball at the 5-yard line. Opening possession, offensive possession for Sacramento State. And here's a handoff that's going absolutely nowhere on 2nd down as the South Dakota State defense right there. And it's going to be a loss of 2 on the play. That was Rodney Hammond Jr. that got the carry. Rashada coming over, getting the starting quarterback job, Sacramento State, after spending 2023 with the Arizona State Sun Devils. The Sacramento State has a 3rd and long here, 3rd down and 12. Ball at their own 3-yard line. Rashada out of the gun this time, looking downfield, throwing deep down the field, has an open man, but overshot him, incomplete. He had a receiver wide open down the field. But Sacramento State, after forcing the turnover, is going to be 3 and out on offense. Is going to have to punt from deep in their own territory. So South Dakota State should get excellent field position out of this. And gets it out of there on the punt. It's a good punt considering. Backtracking at the 50-yard line, returned into Sacramento State territory and down at the 47-yard line. So the Jackrabbits will start their 2nd drive of the game at the Sacramento State 47. 10:03 to go in the first quarter. Both teams empty on their first offensive possessions, although South Dakota State was marching down the field before the turnover. Nothing so far in this top 15 FCS battle. Round out the rest of the top 10 in the preseason Stats Perform FCS Top 25 poll. Number 6, Illinois State. Illinois State in action tonight at Oklahoma. Oklahoma leading that game 14-0. Montana coming in at number 7, and the rest of the top 10, UC Davis at number 8, Rhode Island at number 9, and Tarleton State at number 10 in the preseason. Tarleton State, the story of FCS right now, as they went into West Point last night and picked up a double overtime win over Army. So Tarleton State showing they are definitely going to be a factor in the FCS this year, going into West Point and getting that double overtime win for Tarleton State last night. Let's give you a quick scoreboard update. And again, the big upset going on in FBS right now is down in Tallahassee as Florida State's a minute 45 away from knocking off number 8 Alabama. Florida State leading that game 31-17, 1:45 to go, and Florida State has the ball. So it appears the Crimson Tide are going to go down in their opener against a Florida State team that went just 2-10 a season ago. Another upset going on right now. It's in the second quarter in Iowa City. Iowa's trailing Albany 7-3. Again, that is still just the second quarter, so plenty of time left in that one. Mentioned Illinois State, the number 6 team in the preseason FCS poll. They're down 21-0 to Oklahoma in the second quarter. But a couple big upsets at the FBS level so far. Mentioned Tarleton State last night winning at Army, and now Florida State's about to knock off Alabama, it looks like. So college football is back, and already a couple upsets on the board. Here, second possession of the game for South Dakota State. Nothing doing. Nothing with Sacramento State, and 10:03 remaining in this first quarter of play on a Saturday night in Brookings, South Dakota. 74-degree night at kickoff. And here's Mason looking on first down the field to a wide open receiver. This is going to be a South Dakota State. Well, not quite touchdown, out of bounds inside the 5-yard line. That reception made, it looks like Lofton Ogroski with the reception for South Dakota State, and they have a 1st and goal inside the 5-yard line. So right away, the Jackrabbits 1st and goal. This is Mason keeping it and going nowhere on 1st down. And it will be 2nd and goal for the Jackrabbits. Second down and goal from the 3. As South Dakota State, for the 2nd time tonight already, is in the red zone. They turned it over on a fumble their first trip down there. 6 minutes old in this first quarter. Mason again will keep it, and Mason again is stuffed. A 1-yard loss this time. Looked like Xavier Williams getting in there for Sacramento State on the tackle, and it'll be 3rd and goal from the 4. Third down, goal to go for South Dakota State at the 4-yard line. Can Sacramento State come up with another goal line stand? They forced a fumble the first time. Mason out of the shotgun again on 3rd down goal. Mason looking downfield, throwing out the back of the end zone, incomplete. And Sacramento State will force a field goal attempt, it looks like. The intended receiver was Alex Bullock, the intended receiver for South Dakota State, and they will bring on the field goal team. So a great goal line stand for Sacramento State's defense the first 2 trips. A turnover and now holding them to a field goal attempt. This will be a 22-yard attempt from Eli Stater. And there's the snap. The kick is up, and the kick is right down the middle. And South Dakota State dents the scoreboard first tonight with 8:11 to go in the first quarter. It is South Dakota State 3, Sacramento State nothing. But again, you have to call that 2 wins for the Sacramento State defense, holding South Dakota State to a field goal, because it's pretty one-sided on the stats right now in the first 7 minutes. Total yards is 91 for the Jackrabbits, -1 for the Hornets. And 2 penalties on that previous drive for Sacramento State kept that drive alive as well. But the Jackrabbits do get a field goal to strike first tonight, leading 3-0. That game has gone final in Tallahassee. Florida State has knocked off number 8 Alabama, 31-17, the final score. So a great win for Mike Norvell and Florida State. And looking like they're going to show that 2-10 record last year was a little bit of a fluke. Getting a couple other scores for you here. Albany, well, Iowa's just scored on Albany, so Albany is no longer leading that game. It is now Iowa leading 10-7. And just about to kick off here in about 20 minutes down in Death Valley, that big matchup I told you about, LSU and Clemson. Another top 10 battle in the FBS tomorrow night, Notre Dame and Miami. So 3 top 10 matchups in college football at the FBS level this week. We haven't had this great of a week 1 schedule in college football in a long, long time. Usually the week 1 schedule in college football is kind of nothing real prolific, but that is not the case this year. As we get set for the kickoff here, 3-0 South Dakota State. And South Dakota State getting ready to kick this football off. That last scoring drive for the Jackrabbits, 5 plays, 43 yards, 1 minute, 52 seconds, and an Eli Stater 22-yard field goal for South Dakota State. So the Jackrabbits set to kick this one away, and Sacramento State about to get their second offensive possession of this game. Rodney Hammond Jr. set to receive the kick for Sacramento State. But that will go through the end zone for a touchback, and the Hornets will get it from the 25-yard line. So with 8:11 remaining in the first quarter, back come the Hornets on offense. -1 yardage-wise on their first drive. First down here at the 25-yard line, 8:11 remaining in the opening quarter. Rashada back in the shotgun. Rashada's pass is incomplete. Couple South Dakota State players in there. Looked like Rodney Hammond Jr., the intended receiver. But a couple Jackrabbits there defensively to break that pass up. Second down. Second down and 10 for Sacramento State. Ball at the 25-yard line. And Rashada dropped the snap, and it appears Sacramento State did fall back on it. Well, Rashada looked like he just missed the ball on the snap. Savion Red recovered the fumble for the Hornets, but another loss. So it'll be third down and 11 back at the 24. Rashada out of the gun. Rashada looking, throwing, pass is dropped, incomplete. That was a perfect pass thrown to Jordan Williams, but Williams could not corral it in, and it's another 3 and out for the Hornets. Well, that's one Williams would love to have back. That hit him right in the hands. So again, another punt coming for the Hornets, as we have reached the midway point of this first quarter. Cal McGow on to punt for Sacramento State. And gets the punt away. And fielded at the 32. Drop the ball. Football's loose. Sacramento State's going to pick this up, I think. Well, now it's loose again. Now we're going to have to wait and see. Sacramento State had it initially, but we're going to have to wait and see who they signal. Sacramento State still says they have it. They haven't seen an official signal yet. It is Hornets football. A muffed punt. And it was just a drop there. Didn't see who that was for South Dakota State, but Sacramento State there to recover the football at the 23-yard line of the Jackrabbits. Seeing who that was that recovered that for Sacramento State looked like Koa Akui, the junior out of Hilo, Hawaii, that recovered for Sacramento State. So they will start this drive off the muff punt at the 23-yard line of the Jackrabbits. That is the second turnover of the quarter for South Dakota State. Here's a handoff on first down. That is Hammond. And he gets inside the 20, and the Hornets are in the red zone for the first time. It'll be a gain of, looks like 5 yards. Second down and 5 from the 18. Second down and 5 from the 18. Rashada, the quarterback's going to keep it and go absolutely nowhere on second down. It's 4 or 5 Jackrabbits in there in the heap to prevent Rashada from getting any positive yardage. and it'll be 3rd down and 5. Third down and 5 for Sacramento State. Football at the 18 of the Jackrabbits. And here's a handoff and going nowhere once again. That was Hammond Jr. He got stuffed, and Sacramento State will have to settle for a field goal try. There's a loss of a yard that time for Hammond Jr., so it's 4th down at the 19. And Sacramento State will bring on Grant Meadors for the field goal attempt. This will be from 36 yards to attempt to tie this game. Snap is good. Meadors' kick is up, and the kick is good. And the Hornets take advantage of the turnover and get 3 points to tie this game at 3 with 5:18 remaining in this first quarter on a Saturday night in Brookings, South Dakota, the opening game of the season between these two teams. So despite the stats being pretty one-sided, the 2 turnovers by South Dakota State, the difference in this game so far as to this game still being tied up right now at 3-3. Let's run down the scores again for amongst top 10 teams in the FCS. North Dakota State, the number 1 team, they beat the Citadel today 38-0. Montana State falling at FBS number 7 Oregon today 59-13. Number 4 South Dakota, a loss today at FBS number 22 Iowa State 55-7. Incarnate Word gets set to kick off here in a little bit against Eastern Washington. Illinois State down to Oklahoma 21-0. You get a score on Montana here. Looks like Montana, number 7 Montana is off this week. Number 8 team in FCS, UC Davis, they're at Utah Tech coming up later on tonight. Rhode Island coming in at number 9 in FCS. They have the week off this week. And then, of course, we told you number 10, Tarleton State, with the upset last night over Army in double overtime. This game is 3-3. Sacramento State and South Dakota State with 5:18 remaining in this opening quarter. South Dakota State team picked 2nd in the preseason Missouri Valley Football Conference poll behind North Dakota State. As we are set to kick this one away. And the kickoff is taken out of the end zone. Is going to run it out across the 10, 20-yard line and tripped up across the 25 at the 26-yard line. Mentioned South Dakota State picked preseason number 2 in the Missouri Valley Football Conference. This Sacramento State team is picked to finish 6th in the Big Sky preseason poll. They did get a first-place vote in there, however. And coming in at preseason number 15 after a 3-9 record, last year they are expecting big things out of this Sacramento State team. Jackrabbits football at the 25-yard line, 1st down and 10. Mason out of the gun. Here comes the pressure, and they're going to get him. Mason is sacked back at the 23-yard line. Couple Sacramento State defenders in there on the sack. Looked like Brody Tagaloa was one of them. Loss of 2 on the sack brings up 2nd down and 12. Second and 12, South Dakota State at the 23-yard line. Mason looking, pass is caught. That's across the 30-yard line to the 32-yard line. That is Grayton Gannon with the reception for the Jackrabbits, and a gain of 9 will set up 3rd down and 3. Third down and 3. Jackrabbits at their own 32-yard line. South Dakota State 1 for 2 so far on 3rd downs in this game. Out of the gun is Mason. Mason looking. Mason throws, pass caught, 1st down, Jackrabbits. That's Alex Bullock on the reception. On 3rd and 3, he picks up 7 yards for a Jackrabbit 1st down. New set of downs for the Jackrabbits. 1st down at the 39-yard line. Under 3.5 to go, opening quarter. This is Lockridge on the carry, and he goes, well, he's going to drag the tackle. Ended up getting about a 4-yard gain out of it. Sacramento State looked like they had him right at the line of scrimmage, but an extra effort by Lockridge gets him 4 yards. It'll be 2nd down and 6. Second down and 6 for South Dakota State at the 43-yard line. We've ticked under 3 minutes to go in this first quarter, tied at 3. Mason again out of the gun. Mason looking. Mason throws, incomplete, broken up. That was Ricky Lee III for Sacramento State breaking that pass up, and it will be 3rd down and 6 for the Jackrabbits. Third and 6. Ball at the 43-yard line. Mason will keep it himself. Mason with running room. Mason gets the 1st down up to midfield. On 3rd and 6, Mason picks up 7. Didn't look like there was much there, but Mason made something out of nothing and ended up keeping the drive alive for the Jackrabbits. First down right at midfield as we're nearing 2 minutes to play in this first quarter. This is a handoff once again to Lockridge, and Lockridge across the 45. That's a good 7-yard pickup for Lockridge on 1st down. To the 43 of Sacramento State. It's 21 yards rushing in the quarter for Lockridge, and he gets it right back, but this time is going to be stood up. They'll give him a yard at the 42, setting up 3rd down and a couple. Third down and 2 for the Jackrabbits. Ball from the 42-yard line of Sacramento State. So we've hit the final minute of this opening quarter. Mason will keep it himself, and he's going to get stuffed by a swarm of Sacramento State defenders. And it's going to be 4th down and 2. And what will the Jackrabbits do here? Kind of in that no man's land territory on the field. And it looks like they are going to keep the offense out there. This is a full 2 yards that the Jackrabbits need on 4th down. Fourth down and 2, Mason. There's a flag down. Pass is caught. This is a first down. Alex Bullock on the reception, but we're going to check the flag. With 16 seconds remaining in this first quarter. It is offsides against Sacramento State. South Dakota State's going to decline that. So it would have been a first down nonetheless with the penalty. But a 4th down conversion for the Jackrabbits to keep the drive alive. And on that play, the first quarter will come to a close. So a first quarter that was pretty one-sided, but you look at the scoreboard because of 2 South Dakota State turnovers, it's a tie ball game. Sacramento State 3, South Dakota State 3 after 1 in Brookings, South Dakota on a Saturday night. As we look at the stats through the first quarter of play, like I said, they're pretty one-sided. South Dakota State, 130 yards of offense. Sacramento State has 3, 130 to 3 in the total yards. Sacramento State penalized twice for 20 yards. South Dakota State did not commit a first quarter penalty. First down's 8-0 for the Jackrabbits. Time of possession, South Dakota State had it for 11 minutes and 4 seconds. Sacramento State had it for 3 minutes, 56 seconds. But those 2 turnovers for the Jackrabbits. You had the turnover inside the 5-yard line on their opening drive, trying to drive for a touchdown, and then you had the muffed punt that led to the Sacramento State field goal, and that's why we are 3-3 after 1. Give you a couple quick score updates. Around college football, North Dakota only trailing Kansas State 10-7 at the end of the first quarter. Austin Peay leading Middle Tennessee, FBS Middle Tennessee. That's 14-0 in the first quarter. Got a couple FCS teams beating FBS teams on the road right now. Southeast Missouri State winning at Arkansas State 10-7. That game just underway in the second quarter. So we already had one FCS-FBS upset last night with Tarleton State beating Army. We almost had another one earlier in the day. Merrimack and Kent State. Merrimack came up 4 points short in that one, 21-17. And a couple big early season tests for these FCS teams as well. Illinois State, Oklahoma, Montana State, Oregon. So scheduling games like that, no matter what the score is, scheduling games like that is going to do nothing but help you down the road. Like Albany giving Iowa a battle right now. There is some very, very good football played at the FCS level. And here it is 3-3, Sacramento State and South Dakota State, as we are set to begin the second quarter. Mentioned Sacramento State is top preseason number 15, coming off just a 3-9 season. But they've got 31 transfers that came in from FBS schools. So they're expecting a lot of good things for the Sacramento State team. And South Dakota State made the semifinals of the FCS playoffs a year ago. Underway, second quarter, first down. Mason looking. Mason still looking. Throws to an open man. That pass is caught. That's Grayton Gannon again. 19 more, and the Jackrabbits are in the red zone. First down and 10. Mason now 6 for 10 passing for 87 yards. That was Gannon's second catch of the half. First down at the 17-yard line. Mason looking. Mason still looking to the end zone. Incomplete. Alex Bullock, the intended receiver. It'll be 2nd and 10. Bullock guarded pretty well. Still a catch that Bullock maybe could have made. Would have been a tough catch. 2nd down and 10. Mason on 2nd and 10, back in the gun. Mason looking. Mason in trouble, and he's going to be sacked. Back at the 28-yard line. Xavier Williams on the sack for Sacramento State. And it's going to be 3rd and long now for the Jackrabbits. 3rd and 20. That's a 10-yard loss on that sack. Third down and 20. And now we've got movement on the line. South Dakota State saying it's against Sacramento State. Sacramento State saying it's against South Dakota State. So we'll see how they call this. And it's going to be offsides against the Hornets. Looks like Jalen McLaughlin was the guilty party on that offsides call. So now it's 3rd and 15. Up at the 22-yard line. Mason throws short. And the pass is caught to Lofton Ogroski, and it looks like he's going to be just short on 3rd and 15. Ogroski picks up 14, and it'll be 4th and 1. Yeah, they do spot it at the 8-yard line, so it'll be 4th and 1 at the 8. So again, what do? Do you take the points as we have a Sacramento State defender shaken up here? So do you take the points if you're the Jackrabbits, or do you roll the dice and try and pick up a yard on 4th down? We'll see what the Jackrabbits elect to do following this injury timeout. Well, Chase Mason now 7 for 11 in this first half, throwing the ball for 101 yards. Leading rusher for the Jackrabbits is looks like Ogroski is the leading rusher on this one rush. He has 24 yards. Lockridge has been the go-to back, 6 carries, 21 yards so far. Now 153 yards of offense for South Dakota State. And we have just started the second quarter of play. And they will have a 4th and 1 from the 8-yard line of the Hornets when play resumes. So you can get you a couple score updates. Nothing much has changed since the last update. We're just about set to resume action here. 13:02 on the game clock in the second quarter. And it looks like the Jackrabbits, looks like they're going to send their offense out there, trying to pick up a yard on 4th and 1. Yep, Chase Mason and the South Dakota State offense back out. They converted 1 4th down earlier in the first quarter. They're going to try to convert again on 4th and 1 from the 8 of Sacramento State. Mason's going to try to pick it up himself, and I don't know. There is a flag on the play, so we'll see what this is. Sacramento State thinks they've stopped him. But we'll check out the flag. And it is offsides against Sacramento State. And that will give the first down to South Dakota State. Oh, boy. Devin Wright, the guilty party for Sacramento State that jumped off sides. So it is now 1st and goal, South Dakota State at the 4. Boy, Sacramento State has just shot themselves in the foot with penalties. It's now 4 in the first half. Mason throwing end zone touchdown, Jackrabbits. Mason, the pass into the end zone to Andrew Gustad, the touchdown reception for South Dakota State, and the Jackrabbits take the lead with 12:38 to go in the second quarter. So the penalties really end up costing Sacramento State. And the Jackrabbits complete the drive on the Mason to Gustad 4-yard touchdown pass. Eli Stater on to add the extra point. Snap is good, and the kick is good as well. 12:38 to go in the second quarter. South Dakota State has regained the lead in this game, 10-3, as they get into the end zone for the first time tonight. That was a 15-play, 75-yard drive that took 7 minutes and 34 seconds. Capped off by the Chase Mason to Andrew Gustad 4-yard touchdown pass. And a 10-3 lead for South Dakota State over Sacramento State. And 2 just absolute killer penalties on that drive for Sacramento State. The real killer, that 4th and 1 penalty where it looked like Sacramento State had South Dakota State stopped on 4th and 1, but the offsides penalty gave South Dakota State a free life, and they took advantage. Told you both these teams are led by first-year head coaches. Sacramento State, first-year head coach for them, Brennan Marion. He spent the last 2 seasons at UNLV as the offensive coordinator. Now coming over to Sacramento State as the head coach. And leading Sacramento State to a number 15 preseason ranking. And Dan Jackson, the head coach for South Dakota State. In his first season, he came over after being the defensive coordinator at Idaho. Idaho also an FCS playoff representative a year ago. They made the quarterfinal round before bowing out. So a couple first-year head coaches looking to make some noise with their new teams. And we are set for the kickoff here. And here's the kickoff. A short kick. And at the 34-yard line, it's Gavin Nelson on the kickoff reception. That was a very short kickoff. Sacramento State's going to have the football at their own 36. So back comes the Hornets offense, who's just been held to 3 total yards to this point. They've got a first down at their own 36-yard line. Rashada out of the gun, rolling right, looking, throwing, incomplete. It'll be 2nd and 10, and now Rashada 0 for 5 throwing the ball. Second down and 10 for Sacramento State. Football at their own 36. And this is a carry. This is Savion Red getting the carry, and he will pick up a couple, but that's it. And it'll be a 3rd and long situation, 3rd and 8 coming up for Sacramento State. Hornets so far 0 for 4 on 3rd down conversions. They're going to need 8 here to keep the drive alive. Third down, Rashada looking downfield. Pass is caught. Open man, first down into South Dakota State territory. The reception was made by Jordan Williams. And that's the first completion for Rashada tonight, and it's good for 14 yards. Ball at the 48-yard line of the Jackrabbits. Rashada, that's a screen pass this time, and the pass is caught by Jamar Curtis. And Curtis will go out of bounds around the 40-yard line of the Jackrabbits. So a gain of 7 there on first down. Second down and 3. Football at the 41 of the Jackrabbits. Rashada pass is incomplete. Tried to find Curtis again on the right side, and it'll be 3rd down now. So another 3rd down for the Hornets. 3rd and 3. You're getting close to 4-down territory as you're at the 41 of South Dakota State. And it's a handoff to Hammond Jr., and he's going to be close. I think he got the first down, though. So he needed to get to the 38. He got just across it, and they do signal first down for Rodney Hammond Jr. The drive stays alive for the Hornets. Hammond going to get a breather on the sideline here. Ball is marked at the 37-yard line, first down. And this is Savion Red getting the carry this time, and Red gets inside the 35 to about the 32-yard line. So give him 5 on that. It'll be 2nd down and 5. We go under 10 minutes remaining in this second quarter. 2nd down and 5. Hornets at the Jackrabbits 32-yard line. Rashada once again out of the shotgun. Rashada looking downfield. Dead, almost intercepted, incomplete. Looks like Kite and Fife broke that up and nearly had the interception for South Dakota State. Dangerous pass there from Rashada, and it'll be third down. Third down and 5. Football sitting at the 32-yard line. Sacramento State 2 for 5 on third down conversion so far. And the pass is going to be... It was low. They say it's a catch. That's Jordan Anderson on the reception. And he's going to be about a half yard short. I'm actually not sure he caught that football, but they're ruling it a catch on the field. It's 4th and 1. Fourth down, and the Hornets need a yard. And we have whistles. And it looks like this play is going to review with 8:56 remaining in the second quarter. Looking at that on the replay, I'm not sure that Anderson caught that football. But it's either going to be 4th and 1 or 4th and 5. See if here's the replay again, and I'm looking. Well, I don't know. Looks like the football did hit the ground, but on this other replay, it looks like, well, Anderson may have had both arms under it. This other angle from the opposite end zone looks like it is not a catch. But this other angle, like a sideline view, looks like he may have gotten both arms under it. The call on the field was a catch, so of course it has to be indisputable to overturn it. This might be one of those situations where the call on the field's going to have to stand, because this angle right here that they're showing, it's like a sideline view. Looks like he may have had both arms under it secured. Like I said, there's another angle. I'm going to get the call now. And the catch will stand, so it's going to be 4th and 1 for Sacramento State from the 28, and I would think you're definitely going to leave the offense out here in this situation. May have been a different story if the call had gotten reversed, but needing a yard, the offense stays out. South Dakota State looking for a defensive stand on 4th and 1. Rashada will keep it, and he is going to be stuffed. Back at the 30, it's a 4th down stop for the Jackrabbit defense. And a turnover on downs will give it to South Dakota State. I didn't see exactly who that was. They got the stop for South Dakota State, but a goal line stand. And the Jackrabbits will get the football back, still up 7 with 8:45 to go in the second quarter. So both defenses have come up with some goal line, not necessarily goal line stands, but 4th down stands and goal line stands so far in this one. With 8:45 to go in the second quarter. And the Jackrabbits leading 10-3, and they are going to get the football back, as this drive will start at their own 31 following the break here. North Dakota, out of the Missouri Valley Football Conference, they have taken the lead at Kansas State 14-10 midway through the second quarter. So FCS teams have come to play this weekend. across the country. FCS Austin P up 21-0 on Middle Tennessee. So a great showing so far from FCS teams. Nichols, who knocked off number 6 Incarnate Word last week, they are at FBS Troy and leading 3-0. So Nichols showing they may be a factor for the playoffs this year in the FCS level. And in case you missed it, I talked about it earlier at the beginning of the live stream. In case you missed it last night, Tarleton State, the FCS team down there in Texas, knocking off Army in West Point in double overtime last night. So back to this one, 10-3. Jackrabbits lead the Hornets, 8:45 remaining in quarter number 2. And the Jackrabbits will start this next drive at their own 31-yard line after getting the 4th down stop for Sacramento State. From the 31, this is Lockridge on the carry. Lockridge with room on the right side. He's across the 35, across the 40, and out of bounds at the 41-yard line. That's going to be a first down, 10-yard run for Julius Lockridge. Lockridge now up to 31 yards on 8 carries. First down, Jackrabbits at the 41. This is Lockridge again. Lockridge, big hole Lockridge, inside the 40. Lockridge inside the 30, 25, and finally brought down at the 23-yard line. 36 yards on the carry there for Lockridge. On a big run right there. Jackrabbits have moved the ball on 2 plays down to the Hornets' 23-yard line. Right back to Lockridge on the toss. Lockridge inside the 20, and he's up to about the 17-yard line. 5 more for Lockridge. That's 9 carries, 73 yards now for Lockridge in this first half. Second and 5 from the 17. Jackrabbits in the red zone once again. Here's Lockridge again. Lockridge with another first down as he draws it down to the 11-yard line. It's been the Julius Lockridge show on this drive for the Jackrabbits. And it's 1st and 10 at the 11. Almost 8 yards a carry on average in this first half for Lockridge. Fourth trip in the red zone in the half for the Jackrabbits. First down at the 11. Mason looking. Mason will now take it. Mason inside the 5, and Mason brought down at the 3-yard line. Give the quarterback Chase Mason 8 yards with his feet. 2nd and 2 as they will spot the ball just outside the 3-yard line. .5:30 and counting remaining here in this second quarter. Jackrabbits just now break the huddle with 8 on the play clock. Here's Mason on 2nd down, and Mason in trouble, is going to be sacked back at the 8-yard line. A big sack there and a much-needed sack for Sacramento State as the Jackrabbits were marching it right down the field. That's Dylan Hampston that got the quarterback sack there for Sacramento State, and it'll be 3rd down and 7 now from the 8. Third and 7 at the 8-yard line. Pass is going to be caught. That's going to be short of the 1st down, however. Reception for Alex Bullock. And it will be 4th down and about 2 from the 3-yard line. Again, South Dakota State going to go for this on 4th and 2 from the 3. And this is Ogroski getting the carry and into the end zone for a Jackrabbits touchdown. Lofton Ogroski getting the carry and taking it 3 yards for a Jackrabbit touchdown. And it is now 16-3 with the extra point pending. Another 4th down conversion for the Jackrabbits. And it ends up a Lofton Ogroski 3-yard touchdown. Eli Stater to add the extra point. And it is up and good. 2 second-quarter touchdowns for South Dakota State has extended their lead now to 17-3 over Sacramento State with 3:51 to play in quarter number 2. Last scoring drive for South Dakota State here, 8 plays, 69 yards. 4 minutes, 54 seconds, capped off by a 3-yard touchdown run by Lofton Ogroski. And now a 17-3 lead for the Jackrabbits over the Hornets. Illinois State, the number 6 team in FCS, they've gotten on the board against Oklahoma. It's only 21-3 in the 3rd quarter in that game. So Illinois State giving the Oklahoma Sooners a battle. Couple of FBS scores. Michigan's jumped out to a 14-0 lead over New Mexico. Here's the kickoff. Taken at the 1-yard line across the 10, 15, 20-yard line. Still on his feet and getting up to the 25-yard line. A kickoff return for Rodney Hammond Jr. And the Hornets will start this next drive at their own 25-yard line. All 3 timeouts and 3:43 on the clock. So Rashada come back out. He's just 3 for 10 passing the football in the first half for 25 yards. And the Hornets start at the 25, 1st and 10. And this is a carry on 1st down. This is going to be Jamar Curtis on the carry for the Hornets, picking up 3 yards. Second down and 7. Football at the 28-yard line. This is Red. Hey, going nowhere. Ball's out, and the Jackrabbits have recovered. Savion Red got the got the ball carry there, and the ball came out at the end, and the Jackrabbits have recovered the fumble. That's the first turnover of the game against the Hornets. Let's see who that was that recovered that for South Dakota State. Looks like Reese Kirshenman recovered the fumble for the Jackrabbits. And they have it right back at the 28-yard line of the Hornets. Mason looking on first down, throwing right side, pass caught. Alex Bullock on the reception, and he's inside the 10. 19 yards from Mason to Bullock, and a first down for the Jackrabbits. First and goal. Bullock's fourth reception of the first half for 37 yards. Sacramento State players shaken up on the play. Jordan Jefferson, the banged up Hornet, but he is getting back up and walking off. So right away after one play, the Jackrabbits in the red zone for the fifth time in this first half. First and goal at the 9. And this is a handoff on first down. Not much doing here. Brendan Begeman got that carry for the Jackrabbits. Give him a yard on first down. It'll be second and goal. And let's see if the Jackrabbits, they do not have to snap this before the 2-minute timeout. But they do get the snap off, and Mason on a quarterback keep is inside the 5 to the 4-yard line. And that will take us to the 2-minute timeout. Officially with 1:57 to go in the second quarter. Jackrabbits lead the Hornets 17-3, and the Jackrabbits on the verge of scoring again. They have a third and goal from the 4-yard line of Sacramento State. When play resumes following the 2-minute timeout. South Dakota State now at 250 yards of offense in the first half. They've limited Sacramento State to 39. First downs are 15-2 for the Jackrabbits. They have over a 2-1 time of possession advantage. The Jackrabbits have had the ball for over 18 minutes in this first half compared to Sacramento State's 8.5 minutes. Turnovers, those 2 turnovers for South Dakota State in the first quarter. Sacramento State with 1 turnover. That was just this previous drive on the fumble. Chase Mason for the Jackrabbits, 10 of 14 passing in this first half, 129 yards and 1 touchdown. Ogroski with the rushing touchdown for the Jackrabbits. As the Jackrabbits look to punch it in the end zone for the third time here in the second quarter, already leading 17-3. They will have a third and goal at the 4-yard line when play resumes. I do want to point out at the half, I will be pausing the live stream, but I will be back right before the start of the second half. but the live stream will be paused at halftime, and we'll be back with you about 15 minutes or so afterwards. And we'll be back with you for the second half. So we're set to resume. Out of the timeout, it is 3rd and goal from the 4-yard line for South Dakota State. And they have just set the ball for ready to play, and we are set to go. 3rd and goal at the 4. Mason, whoa, high snap, and Mason just has to fall on this, and this is going to be a big loss on 3rd down. That was a high snap. And now South Dakota State's probably going to have to bring the field goal team out now. That's a loss back to the 19-yard line. Mason just had to do what he could just to get back on the ball. Timeout called here by Sacramento State. They want to preserve some time on offense as the clock is stopped with 1:49 to go in the second quarter. And this will be a field goal attempt for South Dakota State. This will be a 37-yard attempt. With 1:39 to go on the clock here in the second quarter. 17-3 lead for South Dakota State over Sacramento State in this one. It was tied at 3 after 1, but 2 second quarter touchdowns here for the Jackrabbits and a chance to add 3 more with this field goal attempt. Eli Stater coming out. He made one earlier from 22 yards. This will be from 37. There's the snap and the kick on the way by Stater, and he missed it. Missed it to the left. So the Jackrabbits come up empty. And now with 1:46 to go in the second quarter, the Hornets still down just 17-3. That could have made it a 3-score game with that field goal. And Sacramento State will start this drive. With 2 timeouts remaining. And 1:46 on the clock. Rashada back out, first down at the 20-yard line. Rashada going deep down the field. It is caught! A diving catch. That's Jordan Anderson on the diving catch for Sacramento State. Good for 33 yards. Into South Dakota State territory. That's a heck of a catch from Jordan Anderson. And this is now Jamar Curtis getting the carry, and Curtis is inside the 45 to the 44. Pickup of 3 on first down will bring up second down and 7. Sacramento State with 2 timeouts, just hurrying up to the line here. 1:10 and counting. Second down 7, Rashada. Pressure coming on Rashada, and Rashada is going to be sacked. Back at the 49-yard line. That was number 94, Kobe Claiborne, on the sack for South Dakota State, the senior out of Sioux City, Iowa. And a timeout called by the Hornets with 1:02 to go in the second quarter. They have one remaining. But it will be 3rd down and 14 for the Hornets, as they're back on their own side of the field at their own 49. Third down. Hornets need 14. They need to get to the 37-yard line of the Jackrabbits for a first down. Rashada out of the gun once again. Rashada throws, pass caught, out of bounds at the 43-yard line. They're going to mark him out actually at the 45. That was Rodney Hammond Jr., a gain of 6. But it's now 4th down and 8 at the 45-yard line of South Dakota State. And I would think that Sacramento State's probably going to leave the offense out, and they are. Fourth down and 8 from the 45. Rashada looking, throwing deep down the field. That is going to be picked off. Interception made by Jaden Oliver. And he's going to be down at the 6-yard line. So that is basically a punt for Sacramento State. But it does go as a turnover, their second of the game. And the Jackrabbits are backed up at their own 6-yard line with 50 seconds remaining in the first half. So with a 14-point lead, don't know if South Dakota State's going to try anything too dramatic here. Just take it to the locker room with a 14-point lead. Would think they're going to be very, very conservative. Mason out of the gun on first down. He will give it off to Lockridge. And Lockridge gets up to the 9-yard line. South Dakota State will have to snap it one more time. Looks like Sacramento State may have taken their last time out of the half. Maybe just trying to force a turnover here. So timeout by Sacramento State. That's their last one of the half. They have reset the clock to 42 seconds. Coming out of the timeout here, it's 2nd down 7, South Dakota State at the 9-yard line. Mason out of the gun again. Mason looking, throwing, pass complete. That's going to be a first down for the Jackrabbits. The catch made by Lofton Ogroski. That's a 9-yard pickup and a Jackrabbit first down. Clock will stop momentarily to move the chain since we're under 2 minutes. First down, Jackrabbits at the 18. Mason rolling to his right, being pressured. Throwing down the field, just throwing out of bounds, incomplete. Smart play there by Mason. There was nothing downfield. That brings up 2nd and 10. Clock is stopped with 26 seconds remaining in this second quarter. Well, I thought you might see South Dakota State just be very conservative here with a 14-point lead. But they have put the ball in the air on this drive so far and now have a 2nd and 10 at the 18. Mason, pass over the middle, pass is caught. That's going to be a first down across the 30-yard line. Isaiah Garcia Castaneda with the reception. 14 yards to the 32, and now a timeout called by South Dakota State. So maybe they're one to drive down the field and see if they can steal some points here before the half. With 18 seconds remaining on the second quarter clock, that puts Mason at 152 yards passing in the first half, 12 for 17 with a touchdown. And Lockridge has been the main man rushing the ball in the first half. 11 carries, 82 yards for Lockridge here in this first half. So following the timeout, first down and 10 for the Jackrabbits at the 32-yard line. Mason again out of the gun. Mason calls. Mason's pass is caught. That's Ogroski for a gain of 5. Timeout Jackrabbits with 12 seconds left. They're up to the 37-yard line. So the Jackrabbits down to 1 timeout here. So you're at your own 37-yard line. You probably have to throw. If you want to try to get into field goal range, you're probably going to have to pick up somehow about 30 yards. And even then, you're looking at about a 50-yarder. So South Dakota State's probably going to have to go down the field here with just 12 seconds remaining on the clock. Second and 5 following the timeout. Ball at the 37-yard line. Mason looking down the field. Pass is going to be caught for a first down up to the 46-yard line of Sacramento State. That'll stop the clock with 6 seconds. Graham Gehring with the catch once again for the Jackrabbits. And they will use their last timeout now at 6 seconds. So Mason now 14 for 19, and he has found 6 different receivers in the first half. 14 of 19, 174 yards passing in this first half for Mason. And with 6 seconds to go, this pass, if you want to try to get into field goal range, this pass is going to have to go to the sideline because you're out of timeouts if you're South Dakota State. So 6 seconds, and it's going to have to be a quick one. Mason, this is going to run out the half here. Mason's going to run and get what he can, and Mason's up to the 30. He'll be tackled right there, and that will bring this first half to a close. Mason did pick up 17 yards on that run, but clock has expired. In this first half, a game that was tied at 3 after 1, but 2 second quarter touchdowns for the South Dakota State Jackrabbits have them in the lead at the half. It's South Dakota State 17, Sacramento State 3, with 30 minutes left to go. Again, I am going to pause this live stream here at halftime. I will be back with you here in about 15 minutes. We'll be back to bring you the second half of this game. A 17-3 lead for South Dakota State over Sacramento State. Gonna pause this stream. I will be back in about 15 minutes, so if you join me then, we'll bring you the second half. Talk to you here in just